This tutorial covers formatting of in-text citations in accordance with the APA Manual of Style. The APA Manual addresses each type of resource you might want to cite in your paper, but there are too many variants to exhaustively cover in this tutorial, so we will concentrate on those you are most likely to use. First things first. When we refer to APA, we are talking about the literal Manual of Style published by the American Psychological Association. The purpose of this manual is to establish a simple set of procedures or style rules that would organize the many components of scientific writing to increase the ease of reading comprehension. Please remember that you are not expected to memorize these rules. You should refer to the APA Manual of Style as you write, and if you do not have your own copy of the manual, you may borrow one from the Shake Learning Resources Center. In-text citation explanations begin on page 174 of the manual. You will find a chart of in-text citation examples on page 177 of the APA manual. When do you credit sources? If the source has had a direct influence over your work, you must cite it. If you used a source for data, definitions, background information, or in any kind of argument, you must cite it. Also, credit a source if you are using facts and figures that are not common knowledge. This last one is a little bit of a gray area, so as a general rule of thumb, when in doubt, cite the source. This slide shows examples of in-text citations for a resource with one author. Citing sources in text follows a pattern. Always name the responsible party or parties for the resource, which is normally the last name of the author, and give the year the resource was published. This can be done a multitude of ways depending on how many authors are responsible and depending on how often the same source is cited in your paper, so refer back to the chart on page 177 of the APA manual as you write. In these examples in this slide, you see how to cite a resource when your sentence includes the name of the author, only requiring the year of publication in parentheses following the author's name. You also see how to cite a resource where the author's name is not mentioned in the statement, so both the author's last name and the year of publication are needed in parentheses at the end of the sentence. It is important that your in-text citation is typed before the period ending the sentence. Always place the period after the closing parenthesis. This in-text citation formatting remains the same for each subsequent citing of a single author resource in your paper. Here are examples of in-text citations for a resource with two authors. Note that if the authors are mentioned in the sentence, you spell out the word "and," but if the authors' names and publication year are both in parentheses, use an ampersand, not the word "and." This in-text citation formatting remains the same for each subsequent citing of two author resources in your paper. Now we will look at in-text citations where there are 3 to 5 authors. This is where it gets a little different. All 3 to 5 authors get mentioned the first time you cite this resource in your paper. If the authors are mentioned in the sentence, place the publication year in parentheses immediately following the last author's name. If the authors' names are not included in the statement, then all the authors' last names and the year of publication are needed in parentheses at the end of the sentence. Use an ampersand between the last and second to last authors' names in the parentheses. Again, remember that the parenthetical in-text citation should come before the period ending the sentence. If you cite a resource more than once that has 3 to 5 authors, then the second, third, and any other subsequent in-text citation only calls for you to type the first author's name, followed by et al., along with the year of publication. Et al. Being the Latin abbreviation for et ali, which translates to "and others." In-text citations for resources with 6 or more authors call for only the first author's last name, followed by et al., and the publication year, no matter how many times it has been cited in your paper. The first in-text citation will be formatted just like the last. Occasionally, you will cite a resource with authors that share a last name. When this happens, include the first initial of the author's first names. Otherwise, all the previously discussed rules apply. If no author or editor information is available, use an abbreviated title in place of the author's name. Include double quotation marks around the abbreviated title inside the parenthetical in-text citation. If you mention the title in your statement, italicize it. Pay attention to your punctuation, and again, place the period ending the sentence after the citation. If no date is known for the resource, use the abbreviation ND. Use direct quotes sparingly. You should only use a direct quote when you can't paraphrase with the authenticity of the original words. APA distinguishes between quotes of less than 40 words and quotes of 40 words or more. Yes, APA expects you to count the words in the quote. Quotes of 39 words or less require double quotation marks around the quote with the author or authors' names, the year of publication, and the page number where the quote can be found. The parenthetical in-text citation, as always, should come before the period ending the sentence, but note that the parentheses come after the double quotation mark closing the direct quote. If you include the quote mid-statement and mention the author or authors in the statement, then place the parenthetical publishing year immediately following the author's name, and place the page number in parentheses after the double quotation mark closing the direct quote, but before the period ending the sentence. If you use a direct quotation of 40 words or more, then you do not use double quotation marks. Instead, you use block quote formatting. The quote starts on a new line, with each line of the quotation indented. A block quotation is the only time you end the sentence with a period and follow the period with the parenthetical author, date of publication, and page number or numbers where the quote can be found. Look to pages 170 to 174 of the APA manual for more information on quotations. If you have any questions or need any help, don't hesitate to contact a librarian. You can drop by the library, send an email, or call a librarian directly or at the reference desk.